Amazon Wynn Resorts. It's turning into an
infamous computer hacker known by his alias weev is a free man after more than a year behind bars. Weev was accused back in 2010 of hacking into AT&T's website and lifting over 100,000 email addresses and posting them onto the website Gawker. Weev served 13 months of a 41-month sentence, and an appeals court has now overturned his conviction, which is why he's sitting right next to me. He now is setting his sights on Wall Street with a new hedge fund that shorts equities of companies that he believes are vulnerable to security breaches. Weev, welcome. Nice to have you here on Power Lunch.
Great to be here, Sue.
So tell me how this works. You're going to set up basically a hedge fund that is going to be aggressively short some of these companies, correct?
That's correct. Our primary strategy is short equities. It's a multi-strategy hedge fund, and the underlying theme is generating financial intelligence from the computer underground and internet communities. And there's a number of strategies here, but short is definitely the most dramatic. And our primary strategy is to identify a company that has liabilities that no one knows about yet, insofar as information security, and taking a leverage position and put options on their stock, and then releasing information on those outstanding liabilities to the public.
I think the point of controversy will be your methodology or your method of finding those vulnerabilities. As I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, you don't hack into those companies, but you find out where their security vulnerabilities are. How do you do that, or will you do that?
We first probe the public surface of a company, and second, we take a look and we actually watch hackers, foreign hackers like the Russian business network, and we find out what they're doing. There's another company in New York. It's called Consumer Bell. It's run by Ellie Cachette, who's brilliant. And they do what we do, but for really old, boring products, like finding food that has mold in it that makes children sick. And when a car company has a car that hurts people, the stock value drops. And when a software company or a cloud company has a similar problem, their stock is going to drop too.
We reached out to noted M&A attorney Frank Aquila at Sullivan & Cromwell, and he gave us this statement in response to your being on our air. He says essentially all short sellers attempt to identify financial or other weaknesses in companies that, once apparent to the market, will lead to the conclusion that the shares are overvalued. Different short sellers obviously use different methods and metrics, and what Weev appears to be doing, while we might consider his approach and tactics to be somewhat slimy, if he does it in a manner that is otherwise legal, then he will probably be okay. I would have hoped that he would have taken his obvious skills at detecting security weaknesses for better purposes, but obviously he is not that kind of person. That's a pretty strong statement. Would you consider what you're doing slimy?
No. In fact, the things that people usually define as better purposes for software exploit developers are either selling their software to questionable organizations or selling to the government that uses it to illegally spy on people. I am founding this fund because I believe that the public has a right, and I have a moral obligation to inform the public, and I think doing the right thing in the end of the day actually is more profitable. There's better money in it. And I feel slimy when I sell an exploit to somebody that I know is going to use it to spy on people illegally. I'd much rather bring it to the public's attention so consumers can make informed decisions.
Fair enough. Let's bring in Jacob Frenkel, former SEC enforcement attorney, now with the firm of Schulman Rogers. Welcome, Mr. Frenkel. What do you think?
Well, the concept is legal, but I do have a question for Andrew, which is the following. You were convicted. The appellate court threw out the case, not on the underlying merits, which I understand you had hoped would be challenged, but because it was brought in the wrong jurisdiction. So from the government's perspective, in terms of criminal enforcement, it believes that its underlying theory is still valid. So my question for you is, why would people want to give you money at risk of being considered co-conspirators if this legal theory has not yet been tested? Because in essence, they would be potentially inducing you to commit the same type of violations that you were alleged to have committed once before.
The consensus of the legal community now is that public access to public APIs is legal. I've had stellar counsel, I'm sure you're aware, and I think that the government knew at this point that they needed to throw it out on venue because they didn't want to confront the CFAA issue, and they knew that that was an obvious, just ridiculous argument by the U.S. attorney. So I think that what we do is legal and it's valid, and the consensus of the law community is now with us. And I plan on continuing to fight for liberty and freedom and the ability for people to tell the public when they are put at risk.
Very quickly, because we have to go, to his point, though, of will people give you money? Your conviction was overturned. But have you raised money yet, and have you opened the fund?
We have interested investors. Our first offering will be August, and I think that people want to support liberty and morality. I think that it's something that goes very well in this country, and that it will be profitable for the people involved.
Andrew, thank you for spending time with us. Jacob, thank you as well. Appreciate it very much. Ty, up to you.
All right, Sue, thank you. There's really no question about it. This man has changed Wall Street and the financial capital of the world forever. He transformed the way the people of New York City live and the way the financial industry works. You'll meet him when Power 25.